Thank you for joining us. I'm Courtney Kealy. The nation is remembering the 39th President of the United States. Jimmy Carter died Sunday at the age of 100. The latter months of his life were spent in hospice care. Carter served only one presidential term. His time in office was polarizing, but it's what he did after he left the White House that many people fondly remember him for. Jimmy Carter transformed the role of ex-president and became a fierce defender of human rights.
Actions and words are two different things.
Absolutely, and I think the most important three words the president said just moments ago was "at long last." Let's take that beat. Let's take that moment. 54 years of repressive regime from father to son.
Can you walk us through what he said?
Absolutely. The big words that came out of President Biden's mouth were, which everybody feels, at long last. This is more than 50 years of often sadistic rule by...
Courtney, what are you hearing from people inside Syria about the end of the regime?
I think the way it was best described to me is people are experiencing trauma 101. My source said, speaking to her family, she said, remember, this was a sadistic regime that was in place for over 50 years, generation after generation. Jubilation, elation, grief, joy, fear. Yesterday, there were a lot of Israeli airstrikes that furthered their fear that Israel was going to come into Damascus, not knowing who was coming in, who and how it was going to go. That was the initial fear.
First of all, Iran showed that they have a reach. They can hit Jerusalem. They can hit Tel Aviv. They rarely show their hand. Hello, and thanks for staying up with us. I'm Courtney Kealy in New York, and here are some of the top stories on CBS News Roundup. Americans wrongfully jailed in Russia are finally home after a multinational prisoner swap. Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah says its war with Israel has entered a new and more deadly phase. Plus, we take a look at the most likely choices for Kamala Harris's running mate. 2 American journalists and a U.S. Marine are now free and back on U.S. soil after leaving Russia as part of a major prisoner swap involving multiple countries.
But the past history of the U.S. involvement in Israeli covert attacks is long, and the memories in Lebanon are long. The U.S. was involved in Lebanon in the 80s. You saw the Marine barracks bombings. You saw the U.S. embassy bombing and a suicide bombing hit the annex. And you've also seen covert attacks like in Syria when they hit their shadowy figure, one of like the quasi-geniuses of Hezbollah that used to attack Israelis outside of Israel. He was killed, and the U.S. manufactured the door of the car with the explosives and smuggled them into Damascus.
Hello, and thanks for staying up with us. I'm Courtney Kealy in New York, and here are some of the stories we're tracking on CBS News Roundup. The FBI says it's investigating the attempted Trump assassination as an act of domestic terror.